There comes a day not marked on any calendar, not celebrated by anyone around you, when your soul gets tired of performing. Tired of performing for love, for belonging, for permission. Tired of dancing like a trained animal for the applause of people whose validation has become your prison. It is on this silent day, often in your lowest hour, that a new force is born in you, not loud, not dramatic, just still, a stillness so deafening it roars. This is the beginning of your awakening, the birth of a power you've never touched before. Because the moment you stop needing approval, you stop being controlled. You see, there's a reason the masses are kept docile, predictable, tamed. And it isn't just by laws or leaders or systems. It's by a deeper chain, one far older, far more invisible. The need to be liked, the compulsive need to be accepted, seen, and approved. It wears many masks: people-pleasing, overachievement, fake humility, polite compliance. But at the root of it is fear. Not fear of death, but of rejection. Not fear of pain, but of disconnection. And that fear is the true leash. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Not because self-acceptance is hard, but because it means letting go of the entire architecture of false belonging you've built around yourself. The moment you accept yourself, you threaten the system that was built on you hating yourself. And that's when your real power begins. Because approval, when craved, makes you a slave. But when no longer needed, it becomes irrelevant. Suddenly, the manipulations don't work. The guilt trips fail. The sideways complements the social games. The threats of exclusion, they bounce off of you like arrows against stone. Because you've gone inward. You've made the descent into yourself, into your shadows, and made peace with what you found there. When you need nothing from anyone, you're free to move with truth. But let's be honest, you weren't taught to live like this. You were conditioned. Conditioned to be good, conditioned to obey, conditioned to fit the mold, wear the mask, stay quiet, and color inside the lines, not for your own peace, but for the comfort of others. They called it manners. They called it discipline. They called it being a good person. But what they meant was compliant, acceptable, easy to control. This need for approval is not just emotional, it's ancient, evolutionary. In tribal times, exile meant death. Being cast out of the group meant no food, no fire, no protection. So the need to fit in was wired into our nervous systems as survival. But here's the tragedy: we've outgrown the tribe, but not the wiring. We live in a world of 7 billion people, yet fear one person's disapproval like it's a death sentence. And until you face that wiring, until you break the trance, you live a ghost life. One where your words are not yours, your actions are not yours, even your dreams are not yours. Just borrowed desires, pre-approved by the culture, recycled through you, safe, predictable, powerless. But when you burn the script, when you become willing to lose the crowd, to find yourself, you become a threat to the entire system. Because a man who no longer needs your praise is ungovernable. A woman who no longer needs your validation is unstoppable. This is why the masses are medicated with likes, with followers, with applause. Because if they ever tasted the raw purity of self-approval, they would never trade it for social acceptance again. Think about it. Who holds the power in any interaction? The one who needs less. If you're dying for someone's attention, they own you. If you're aching for praise, you are manipulatable. If your self-worth inflates and deflates based on someone else's opinion, you're not living, you're auditioning. Every conversation becomes a performance. Every relationship becomes a negotiation. Every silence feels like rejection. And that is not freedom. But once you stop needing it, really stop, not as a defense, but from the marrow of your being, you start to walk different. You start to speak from a deeper place. Your words carry weight not because you're trying to be impressive, but because you don't need to be. You've seen your shadow, you've befriended your monster, you've embraced your contradictions. You no longer contort yourself to be digestible. You no longer water yourself down to be palatable. You are no longer a servant to perception. You are a warrior of essence. Nietzsche said, the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. But the moment he breaks free, the tribe calls him dangerous, because he is no longer swayed by shame, no longer molded by guilt, no longer pulled by fear of judgment. This is what happens when you stop needing approval. You become fully alive. Not half alive, not image alive, not socially alive, fully alive, with the ability to say no without guilt, to say yes without fear, to stand alone in your truth without needing a hand to hold. That kind of presence terrifies people. Not because you are rude or arrogant, but because you are sovereign. And sovereignty in a world that profits off your insecurity is an act of rebellion. They don't teach this in schools. They teach obedience, memorization, compliance. They don't teach children how to trust their own intuition, how to navigate without applause, how to walk without a map. Because if they did, the machine would break. But the world doesn't need more obedient people, it needs more awake ones. And awakeness begins the moment you choose to disappoint others instead of betraying yourself. The moment you choose solitude over fake connection, truth over likability, depth over charm. Let them misunderstand you. Let them call you cold, arrogant, distant. Let them whisper your name in confusion, unable to categorize you anymore. That's what happens when you stop performing. When you stop contorting, when you stop seeking permission to be whole, you don't become less, you become real. Because approval is a drug, and you were addicted. The highs of being chosen, the lows of being ignored, the obsession with being seen a certain way, but now you are sober, no longer chasing the high, no longer afraid of the withdrawal. You've replaced the need to be liked with the need to be whole. And in that wholeness, you found a new kind of power, not loud, not flashy, but undeniable. The power of presence, the power of a man who looks you in the eye and does not flinch. The power of a woman who speaks and the room falls silent, not because of volume, but because of truth. It is the power of someone who has nothing to prove, nothing to protect, nothing to sell. Because once you stop needing approval, every move you make becomes yours. Every word you speak becomes a reflection, not a performance. And every step you take is grounded not in strategy, but in soul. This is what the world cannot teach you. It can only break you down until you have no choice but to teach it to yourself. And you will. You will learn to walk without applause. You will learn to speak without softening. You will learn to stand alone until your very solitude becomes magnetic, until your very silence becomes disruptive, until your very being, unedited, unfiltered, unapologetic, becomes a mirror that exposes the world's own cowardice. And you'll walk, not away from the world, but into yourself, into the places you once avoided, into the shame, the rage, the grief, the wildness. You will reclaim your throne from the parts of you that gave it away. Because here's the truth. Your power was never lost, it was just buried. Beneath the need to be good, beneath the urge to be liked, beneath the addiction to approval. But it is still there, waiting for you to stop begging and start becoming. And the moment you do, you don't rise above the world. You drop beneath it, beneath the noise, beneath the games, into a depth that cannot be touched by likes or comments or gossip or fame, into a realm where your worth is not on the table because it was never up for discussion. This is the power of the one who no longer needs anything. And that, my friend, is what makes you unstoppable. They won't know what to do with you, because the moment you stop seeking approval, you stop playing by rules you never agreed to. You unshackle yourself from every unspoken contract, the silent demands to smile when you feel rage, to nod when your soul screams no, to shrink so others can feel tall. You tear up every script written for you by the frightened, the insecure, the lost, and you begin writing in blood, in instinct, in truth. You walk into rooms differently now. You don't check faces for signs of acceptance. You don't adjust your posture for comfort. You don't scan for the alpha. You are the axis now. The storm no longer rages outside you, it lives within. And instead of trying to quiet it, you channel it. Because the fire in your chest, the one you were taught to dim, is your divine inheritance. It's not a flow, it's a compass, a flare, a rebellion against the dying of your own light. And here's what no one tells you. When you stop needing approval, people don't just respect you more, they reveal themselves. Watch closely. The ones who only loved you when you were agreeable will begin to resent you. They'll accuse you of changing, becoming distant, cold, hard. They'll use guilt as a leash, hoping to pull you back into your role as the ever-accommodating version of you they could manage. But you won't bite. Not anymore. Because now you see what was really happening. You were not being loved. You were being used. Your compliance was their comfort. Your silence was their safety. But also the ones who are real, the ones who are sovereign too, they will feel you. They will recognize the resonance. They'll hear your no and feel respect, not rejection. They'll see your boundaries not as walls, but as doors, the kind only the true can enter. Because that's what real approval looks like. It's not demanded, it's not earned, it's witnessed. And once you find that, once you taste the sacred honesty of being seen without having to perform, you will never trade it again for surface praise. Because surface praise is sweet poison. It flatters your ego while starving your soul. Look at the greats, the truly untouchable. Malcolm X didn't beg for likes. James Baldwin didn't ask for safe applause. Frida Kahlo didn't wait for permission to be untamed. They walked the earth with fire in their veins, unshaken by the tremors of public opinion. And that fire, it was lit the day they stopped asking the world for permission to exist. You see, the moment you stop needing approval, your relationship with fear changes. Fear no longer whispers threats of rejection, it becomes a teacher, a mirror, a path. Because approval was never about love. It was about safety. But real safety isn't external. It's not in acceptance. It's in sovereignty. It's in knowing that even if the world turns its back on you, you won't turn your back on yourself. And when you get there, truly get there, people feel it. Your presence changes. It's not aggressive. It's not defensive. It's still grounded, unapologetic. The kind of presence that says, I am not here to be chosen. I am here to choose. You choose who gets your time. You choose who earns your truth. You choose when to speak and when to let silence do the talking. Because now you understand, silence is not weakness. It's power. It's the pause before the earthquake, the breath before the roar. And you no longer rush to fill the silence with validation-seeking noise. You let it speak for you. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Nothing to defend, nothing to explain, nothing to justify. This kind of power cannot be mimicked. It cannot be faked because it's not aesthetic, it's energetic. It comes from living in integrity with your own soul. And integrity has a weight to it. It grounds you. It gives your words gravity. It makes people stop and look, not because you're trying to be seen, but because you've become the kind of person who can no longer be ignored. But here's the twist. When you stop needing approval, you don't become disconnected from others. You become more connected, deeply, authentically, because you're no longer trying to extract love from others through performance. You're offering truth. And truth is the only foundation strong enough to hold real connection. The false self seeks love through masks. The true self radiates love without needing anything back. And that's what makes you magnetic. Not the charm, not the persona, but the rawness, the vulnerability, the courage to show up as you are flawed, wild, whole, not trying to be impressive, just trying to be real. And that's the irony of it all. The more you need approval, the less you get it. The more you try to be likable, the more forgettable you become. But the more you stand in your raw truth, untamed, unmasked, the more unforgettable you become. Because in a world addicted to image, truth is a revolution. And you, my friend, you have become the revolution. They won't know what to do with you, but they will feel you. Long after you leave the room, long after your voice fades, long after your eyes stop looking into theirs, because you didn't come to please. You came to awaken. And awaken you have. This is what happens when you stop needing approval. You become the flame, not the moth, the signal, not the echo, the architect, not the actor. And nothing, no rejection, no silence, no misunderstanding can touch you again. Not because you're cold, but because you're home, you will lose things. Let's make that clear. This path isn't painless. You will lose people. You will lose roles. You will lose the illusion of belonging. You will feel the ache of silence when those who once adored you no longer know how to stand next to you. But let that ache be sacred. Let it stretch you. Because what you're losing is not love, it's dependency. What you're shedding is not connection, it's the need to earn your place. And in that shedding, something terrifying and holy happens. Your real life begins. You start to breathe in a way you never have. Not shallow, not performative, but deep, primal, cellular. You remember what it means to exist without being edited, without softening your edges for the comfort of fragile egos, without translating your fire into palatable language. You stop managing your truth like a brand. Because your life is not a pitch, your voice is not a campaign, your existence does not require applause. This is the sacred revolt. When you stop asking for permission to be whole, and yes, it will unsettle people. It will unsettle you, because for the first time, you will feel the full weight of yourself. No filters, no cushioning, just raw, undiluted selfhood. It's intense, it's strange, but it's yours. And there is a peace in that intensity that the superficial world will never understand. Because you are no longer trying to be understood. You are no longer translating your soul into digestible sound bites. You are speaking in the language of essence now, the language of energy, of presence, of stillness. And those who hear it, truly hear it, will not just nod. They will tremble, because your truth wakes something ancient in them too. You become a mirror they cannot look away from. And that's the true power of approval detox. You don't just free yourself. You invite others to rise, to meet you in the wild, to drop their masks, to feel what it's like to not be at war with themselves anymore. You stop being a person. You become a permission slip. And that permission to be untamed, to be unedited, to be whole, that is the most radical thing you can offer this world. Because in a world built on performance, authenticity is violence. It disrupts, it confronts, it destroys false safety. And so they'll call you dangerous, arrogant, selfish, cold. They'll try to shame you back into shape, but your shape no longer fits their mold. You are not hard, you are clear, you are not cruel, you are clean, you are not unkind, you are unowned. And that unownership, that sovereign selfhood, is a threat to every system built on self-betrayal. Because this world is not broken because people are evil. It's broken because people are afraid. Afraid of rejection, afraid of judgment, afraid of being cast out. So they betray themselves in tiny, invisible ways every day. And that betrayal over time becomes their identity, their prison, their sickness. But you have chosen a different illness. You have chosen solitude over false approval. You have chosen silence over shallow affirmation. You have chosen the weight of being real over the ease of being liked. And that choice, it heals, not quickly, not painlessly, but truly. Because when you stop needing approval, you begin approving yourself. Not in theory, in action, in behavior, in decisions. You stop abandoning yourself for comfort. You stop selling your peace for proximity. You stop dimming your light so others don't feel small. You become, instead, a sanctuary. Not for everyone, but for the few who are ready. Ready to stop the performance, ready to feel again, ready to be again. Because being, in its truest form, requires nothing from the world. It just is. And that is the power of self-approval. It is not loud, it is not flashy, it is the soft, solid thunder of someone who no longer needs to be anything else. Not smarter, not prettier, not more successful, not more spiritual, not more relatable. Just here, now, as is, unapologetically. And from that place, that stillness, everything changes. You don't chase anymore. You don't prove. You don't convince. You attract what is real. You repel what is false. You move with precision, not desperation. You speak when it matters. You walk when it's time, and you rest without guilt, because you have nothing left to earn. And this is what the world fears the most. A human being who is no longer afraid to be exactly who they are, without apology, without disguise, without dilution. Because that kind of being cannot be bought, cannot be bribed, cannot be moved by fear. They are dangerous, they are holy, they are whole, and now so are you. So here you are, not the version they groomed, not the version they praised, but the version that rose from the ashes of needing anything from anyone. No longer bending, no longer begging, no longer betraying yourself for a seat at a table you never even wanted to sit at. You are not cold, you are clear. You are not heartless, you are whole. You are not above them, you are finally, fiercely within you. And in this final breath of becoming, you realize you were never lacking. You were never too much. You were never the problem. You were simply never meant to be owned. They tried to clip your wings by telling you they were protection. They tried to soften your roar by calling it inappropriate. They tried to tame your wild by naming it unstable. But the truth is, your freedom scared them because it reminded them of their own chains. Let them be scared. Let them whisper. Let them call you everything but your name. Because you are not here to make others comfortable with your power. You are here to be it. And in being it, you give others a silent invitation to rise, to stop performing, to walk through fire without asking who will hold their hand, to speak without rehearsing, to leave without apologizing, to live without pretending. You do not need approval. You are the approval, stamped by your own soul, sealed by your own becoming, sanctified not by applause, but by the raw, relentless, irreversible fact that you survived every attempt to make you forget who you are. So walk, not for them, not for praise, but because this world is starving for someone, anyone who knows how to live unowned. And that someone is you.